So we're live doing the Maribor post-match podcast. I'm outside in a courtyard, and with me I have Fergs and Maps all across the rest of the world. So, gentlemen, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. How's your day going?
Yeah, good man. How are you doing?
Fergs, you?
Yeah, it's better after that result. That's for sure.
Yeah, true.
Needed something like that to put a spring back in my step.
Definitely.
When you need Liverpool to play well to cheer yourself up.
Well,
I know the
I know.
feeling myself.
I missed the last one because the kids pulled the oven door off. So yeah, I had to do
What?
something to look forward to. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. But yeah,
To be fair, I think you dodged a bit of a bullet, to be honest.
no, it was a good listen. You guys did well.
I remember the match.
All right.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know the podcast was all right. The match wasn't great.
No, I got to see the game. I just couldn't make it after because the kids decided to pull the oven door off after the game. So yeah,
Oh, of course. Yeah,
it wasn't me in a fit of rage, honest.
So let's get into this post-match thread. Obviously, great result today. It looks like we've probably gone top of the group as a result of it, and a result of the Sparvia game as well, which was a shock result, especially the scoreline. So, what were you guys thought of today's performance and how we did? Paul, let's start with you.
It's hard really to gauge how I see that Liverpool performance because I haven't really got a great deal to complain about in terms of the way we played. But because of the nature of the opposition, it's very difficult to know how much of that was us just being really on top of our game, how much of it was Maribor being, quite frankly, terrible, and how much of it was a combination of the two. Delighted with a win. Thank God I get to see Liverpool win a game for the first time since I can't remember now. Be pragmatic about it and hope that it's a springboard for against better opposition. It's one thing to beat Maribor, a relative minnow in the Champions League, but hopefully we can use it as a confidence booster when this weekend because they're viable opposition. So I hope that we take a bit of confidence from this, and finally things will start to click. But I don't think we can take too many conclusions from it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Paul and that. It's kind of hard to see really how much of it was us being good and how much was them being terrible. Though I guess to sum it up, I'd say professional because we did what we needed to do and convincingly so. It's nice to see somebody get put to the sword. We did play some quite nice attacking link play, which kind of we deserved and we know we're capable of, though we haven't really shown too much in recent weeks. So yeah, professional and convincing.
I think it was less to do with the performance today, at least in terms of reading this game. I think it's better to read less into the performance and read more into the result because this was a necessary result. We needed this. And it's really important that we get back to being in the top, basically getting back to being top of the group, which is something that was really a thorn for me when looking at this Champions League campaign so far. I thought some of the performances were good, but again, I thought Maribor really played into our hands. They were far too open, far too willing to play an open game with us, and they got put to the sword quite convincingly. So again, tactical naivety on Maribor's part, but even if they were a little bit more cautious, I still think that we would have disposed of them quite easily. So not really to look too much into this performance as a result. In terms of individual performances, who did you guys think did the best today, or at least who were you pleased to see have a good game?
I thought excellent. His assist for Firmino within the first few minutes was real standing. He just impresses me every time he plays. I love that burst of pace, but what really makes Salah stand up for me is the way that he uses that burst of pace with intelligent movement and positioning. That was on show again today. A really, really excellent performance. He was probably about an hour, but best player on the field for Liverpool tonight.
I think Milner did really well. To come in after not playing for quite a while into his air brackets right now preferred position, and looks like he thoroughly deserved to be there. To be fair on that, I mean, yeah, it's one performance. You can't really judge him on that, but we are talking about just this one game. So yeah, I think he deserved to be there after his performance today. He really stood out. I thought Trent had a decent game, much better in the second half. Not just because of the goal. I just thought he was a lot more confident moving forward with the ball. Made quite a few meaningful runs. And then obviously Salah stood out. It had to give Salah man of the match if it wasn't for Millie coming in after such a long layoff and doing that well. Coutinho was outstanding. You know what you're going to get from him. There's nothing really else I can add. I think everybody was okay, bar one or two that we've kind of ripped into for the last few weeks, so I'll try not to.
Yeah, I was very happy with the performance that Milner gave today. Actually, Salah, Coutinho, Firmino, I'm gonna just all lump them in one group over there. I thought they all did very well, but as far as who came into the team, I thought Milner did really well. I was really, really happy with the performance he gave. Very positive, which is something I don't always look at with Milner. I think sometimes he's a little bit safe, but today I really liked his initiative. Very, very good. And I think he's really put himself in contention to start at Spurs, to be quite frank with you. If Henderson is coming back at Spurs, which I'm assuming he will, I see absolutely full reason to keep Milner in that midfield at the expense of Wijnaldum or Chan. So very impressed with him. As far as everyone else goes, everything else was, looked pretty normal, pretty expected. Moreno again had a good performance in a situation whereby he didn't have to do much defending, so obviously he looked very, very good on that left side. And those are my thoughts, at least in terms of who performed well or beyond or above expectation. In terms of the point of contention that we had earlier before the game started, it was the decision to not play Oxlade-Chamberlain. Let's get into a little bit of that. Obviously, Ox got a goal, and we'll talk about that. But I know Fergs and Paul, you have a little bit of disagreement there. So let's get into it.
Chamberlain, I maintain that I would have started him, even in spite of the fact that we won 7-0 without starting him. I think it's a good opportunity to make him. He hasn't really had opportunities in the team. He had his best opportunities tonight because he played about half an hour, which is double the amount of time he's normally played. And in spite of a couple of really shaky passes, he did all right towards the end. Some nice movement. That run and finish at the end I thought were really good. I just think that what we need to do with Oxlade-Chamberlain is find a way to bed him in over the next 5 weeks, because we're going to be missing Mane. We need to allow ourselves to maintain our pace out wide and have Coutinho in the midfield. Because when you take Coutinho out of the midfield and you bring him out left, you limit his ability to impose on the game. And what we ended up doing was bringing Coutinho a bit further back, either midfield, and having Jorginho Wijnaldum supply most of the width next to Moreno on the left-hand side, which didn't suit him. I thought Wijnaldum was really poor tonight, especially because he was playing a role that wasn't his role. His passing was very wayward. I think his decision-making was quite poor. There was one finish in front of goal that really should have been hit a lot more cleanly. It just wasn't a good performance from him, but you can understand why. He was being asked to play in a way that wasn't natural to him because Coutinho was drifting back. What I would do in a situation like that is say, all right, Coutinho prefers to play midfield. And it was another great performance from Coutinho in midfield tonight. Leave him there. Salah's fine, brilliant outright. Put someone on the left who actually suits that role. So you have the benefit then of putting players in their natural positions, keep Coutinho where he belongs without anyone having to compensate for that. And given our £40 million winger opportunity to show what he can do, because he hasn't really gotten it so far. And the benefit of that is it keeps the midfield ticking over. It keeps a world-class player in our midfield. Two wingers on the field who know what they're doing and can properly take advantage of the weaknesses in a team like that. Even in spite of the result, I'd have still played Oxlade-Chamberlain, whether it was in place of Milner, and I'm glad it wasn't in place of Milner because Fergs was right. Milner did very well tonight. It should have been, and I'm saying this in hindsight, I admit, it should have been in place of one of Chan or Wijnaldum. There wasn't any need, I don't think, to have both of them. It was a good opportunity to start Oxlade-Chamberlain. I'm not pleased that we didn't take it, but at the very least, he had a good 30 minutes on the whole, got himself on the score sheet, and he provided himself with a platform now to build on. And I hope to see him start some games in the future and really kick on from there.
See, I agree with some of what you're saying in regards to you have to play Coutinho in the midfield position that he's been dropped into this season. It makes him look a lot. I mean, he was great anyway, but it makes him look a lot better. The fact that he can dictate play from there with Mane and Salah ahead of him making the runs, and Firmino for the link up. So when Mane is out, obviously, you said we should put a winger there. Now, I don't think, I mean, we said this before the game in the chat, but I just don't think he's done enough. I mean, yeah, we had the discussion as well that he hasn't really been given the chance, but he's either not doing it in training or Klopp just doesn't think he's ready. And the brief cameos he's had, he's looked so out of place, and he's looked a few leagues below where we're playing. He just doesn't seem quick enough in the head to do it, to do what we're asking. He's giving the ball away, he's messing up, he's passing the ball out of play. And he had a bad start tonight until the goal. He skied a couple of shots, played the ball out of play directly. When he tried to play ball to Milner and basically just passed it out. I just don't think he's settled in. The goal might give him a bit of a confidence boost. Do we need to get him settled in? Yeah, we do. We've paid money for him. He needs to be part of the team. You don't spend that amount of money and just leave somebody there. I just don't think he's done anything to warrant his chance. Again, like you said, it's he's got to get given a proper chance to deserve a chance, but just based upon what we're seeing and obviously what Klopp's seeing in training, it's just not good enough.
I don't think it's that fair to expect him to really to have grasped the chance when what he's effectively done is play a series of cameos. Until tonight, he'd mostly played about 15 minutes on average every time he'd come on for Liverpool. And you can expect regularly good performances from that. Break with that cycle and give him a start to give him a chance to show you what he can do over the course of 90 minutes, because that's when we're going to find out about the player. And playing against a team in Europe who's never won a home tie in the Champions League, in my opinion, was a good chance to show that he did deserve it. And if he didn't take that, then agreed. I think you also maybe can't really make an argument on merit when there are players in who are playing 90 minutes regularly without actually, in my opinion, deserving it. Players like Lovren are often given 90 minutes and they're astonishingly judged.
Yeah, I was going to bring something up like that, like certain players seem to get given a chance more than others. And, Wijnaldum and Lovren, for example, both get given a lot more chances than they deserve. So why is Klopp not giving him it? There's got to be something going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing for him not to be getting him it. Now, if his cameo last week against against Man U, right? If he came on and played in his cameos like that, I'd have no problems with him. I'd class it as a really good signing. I thought he did really well when he came on. But other than that, no, I just think he's looked so out of place and so off the pace that he just hasn't warranted being a starter for me.
I mean, he's played until tonight he'd played a total of about 85 minutes for Liverpool, and he played a quarter of an hour against Man United on Saturday. And on that, in terms of playing him in the next game, is he ready to start against Maribor? Well, actually, he had a good spell against Man United. you probably think that he can cope with the demands of playing against one of the worst teams in the Champions League. Chance. Karius played tonight. Karius played 90 minutes. He's getting his chance in Europe. That's presumably what Klopp's doing with him. That's when your chance in the team looks like he's actually playing 19-minute long football matches. Oxlade-Chamberlain hasn't been. And for the half hour that he played tonight, okay, about half of that he was very shaky, a couple of, ill-timed passes. But for the second half of that, I thought he did well. I think he justified his inclusion in the... And I don't see why we should go out of our way to avoid playing him to such an extent that we should bring Coutinho out of his rightful position. We seem to be doing everything. It must take real mental gymnastics to justify taking Coutinho out of the position brilliant in, just to make sure that you don't have to play Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain out wide.
Yeah,
that doesn't hang together for me. I'd so much have preferred to see him thrown into the side this evening, play Coutinho brilliant where he's outstanding, and see what Oxlade-Chamberlain can do. If he hadn't performed tonight over the course of 90 minutes, then we could have ended up on the same side of this discussion. But I don't think that the cameos that he's had so far provides us with enough information to say that he does or doesn't deserve a chance.
Yeah, I don't know, man, because there's some poor decisions going on in general in regards to substitutions and the team sheet. But it's like, where does that? I mean, that decision ultimately lies with Klopp, and he's seeing them in training. He's seeing them in the games. They're obviously looking at the stats that the guys are pulling out, and the team behind the scenes as well. So something's not adding up. Now it's in games like that you should be looking to bed in new players. I totally agree with that concept. That's the right thing to do. And had we still been in the Carabao, etc., that would have been the times for him to get game time or to get starts, to give him the opportunity to settle in and bed in. And obviously we're no longer in the Carabao and he didn't get picked tonight. But I mean, yeah, I totally agree that they're the times you should be picking him. Just obviously based upon what I've seen of his cameos, it wouldn't have been my choice. But so yeah, obviously something's going on with the decisions behind the doors. So I mean, I guess that brings us on to Klopp. I know you guys wanted to talk about Klopp's decision making and stuff.
So this is my feelings on Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think both of you guys have the right idea here, in the sense that Fergs is right. His cameos have been pretty poor, and even today when he came on, there were some moments where he just looked a little bit off the pace, a little sloppy. But then again, this is my reasoning with a player like Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, that even when they are sloppy, even when it looks like nothing is going their way, they have certain attributes in their game that allow them to make a difference. Like today, the goal that he scored, it was a nice goal, good link up with Sturridge for the goal, but he has that game-changing ability, which is kind of the reason why we did sign him as well, for the money that we signed him for, and one of the reasons why we've been imploring that he plays as a winger while Mane is out, because is he going to have a perfect 90 minutes if he starts? Probably not, but at the same time, he has the ability to be a dangerous player, and that's what we're looking for. That's what we're hoping for. And tonight he showed that even with his bad moments, he had a moment of real quality, and that's what we want to see more. Next, let's get to talk about the substitutions tonight. I was a little bit annoyed by the fact that we let Coutinho play 90 minutes. Today's game, when on Saturday we were talking about him being pulled early because of this, possibly because if he was limping or he was gimpy or something of that sort. So I was a little bit annoyed to see him play 90 today. I didn't think that he needed to be risked, especially in a game that was won by halftime. What were your guys' thoughts on this?
I was happy to see him stay on the field, to be honest. I do get what you're saying about bringing your best player off when you've already won a game. But there's also an argument that we were also playing for goal difference. And that's what we're currently top of our Champions League group on. So there was a good argument for keeping a relatively strong team on the field, keep chasing more goals, don't take your foot off the pedal. Be ruthless against these. Don't just declare it 4 or 5-0. Go for a couple more. The fact that we've won 7-0 as opposed to 4-0, both would have been perfectly fine by me. But the fact that we scored that extra couple of goals could be a real difference maker going forward. So I was happy to keep him on. I think there were good footballing arguments to keep him on. I'm sure he'll be all right for Spurs on Saturday afternoon. He's got a few days to recover. To be honest, I also don't think that Maribor provided them with that physical a test. If we'd been playing against Barcelona and we were 4-0 up with 10 minutes to go, yeah, I probably would have substituted him because he would have had the game of his life. But this felt like more of a run out for a player like Coutinho. And keeping him on the field increases your chances of scoring a couple of extra goals, which can make a big difference towards the end of the Champions League group stage. So I thought we did the right thing. I think we got the balance of the team right towards the end of the game, keeping Coutinho on, but giving Sturridge and Solanke and Oxlade-Chamberlain a run out at the end. And they all did a pretty good job. So I can't really complain, which isn't like me. I normally do complain about the substitutions, but I thought they were more or less spot on this evening. I was pretty happy with them.
Yeah, I think the way he made the subs has been a massive improvement on the way it's been going on for the majority of the season. He actually made them and made them early enough for them to have an impact on the game. I mean, yeah, fair enough, the game was over, pretty much dead and buried by that point, but they got given a chance to try and influence and get involved and get some decent time under the belt. So in that respect, substitution making much better. Maybe well, I do see the point and maybe agree that the personnel he actually changed could have been better choices. But yeah, in general, decision making much better, getting them out there early.
I agreed with the personnel changes, with the exception of the Wijnaldum change. I just felt that in a game like this one, I do see Paul's point, and it certainly has merit, but just the idea of keeping your best player out there in a game that's been wrapped up quite convincingly, just for a few extra minutes, one bad challenge, and if he goes down for 2, 3, 4 weeks, that's a risk I would not be willing to take. So I was a little bit. I'm glad that he's not injured. I'm glad that he's fine. But at the end of the day, I do hope that we can look after and manage our players a little bit better, especially given the fact that he got 90 today and then got yanked against United, when possibly we could have found a winner in the last 13, 15 minutes or so of that game. So it does bother me a little bit in terms of the substitutions. Now it looks like our Champions League campaign is back on track, completely back on track. And the good thing is that we play Maribor again in the next round. In the next game. So we really have a chance to cement top spot for ourselves. How are you guys feeling now about the Champions League campaign so far?
Another good result between Sevilla and Spartak. Things could really start to look up for us. I started to lose hope really after the home draw with Sevilla, after the away draw against Spartak, because it felt like 2 opportunities lost and our fate wasn't in our hands anymore. Now it's very much back in our hands. If we beat Maribor convincingly in Anfield, which you really have to expect that we'll do, we hope for a good result between Sevilla and Spartak. A 1-1 draw would be fantastic. Then we've put ourselves firmly in the driving seat. We could go to Seville and come away with a draw and take on Spartak in the last game of the campaign and end up with top spot. Obviously, we've got to play our game. We've got a very tricky tie away to Sevilla to play, but results fell so well for us tonight that it's changed the complexion of this entirely. So hopefully now what we'll end up doing is cementing top spot in the next round of fixtures. We'll hopefully dispatch with Maribor without too much difficulty. There'll hopefully be another good result for us in the Sevilla-Spartak game. And we can look forward to a slightly easier passage than we might have otherwise had to the quarterfinals, all going well.
We should be at the top of the group. There's no reason not to be. If you look at the group we've got, it's pretty damn favourable. I mean, in the first chat we had before, I think it was just after the first game, or was it after the league game before the group stage started, I said that we'd draw away in Russia and probably draw away in Spain because they're two tough away ties regardless of the group. But yeah, we should be there. There's no reason we shouldn't. Performance-wise, barring a couple of kind of periods where we look to have gone soft in the games we've had, we've pretty much dominated them, and yeah, we should be at the top of the group.
Yeah, I think we should definitely see this out now. I think it's completely in our hands at this point. We should be top of the group now, and from here on out, we have 2 relatively favorable games and then 1 challenging game away to Sevilla. But again, I think we're good enough to actually win all 3 games. Honestly, I think Mane may possibly be back for the Sevilla game, so that should really help. But I don't see any reason to fear, and this is a good confidence-boosting result for this team. And certainly a lot of the things that Klopp wanted to see today, he definitely saw. So I'm very happy with that. So I'm really pleased with the Champions League campaign and what happened tonight. Obviously, we got a huge favor from Spartak. Going forward, we have a game again on the weekend. Tough game against Spurs away from home. Do you want to see Klopp employ a more pragmatic approach? Not necessarily park the bus, but employ an approach which involves a little bit more control and perhaps being comfortable coming away from Wembley with a draw?
I never want to see Liverpool set up for a draw. I want to see Liverpool go into every game with an ambition of winning that game. And Spurs are a brilliant team. They showed that tonight. They're a really excellent side these days. But that, in my opinion, is no reason not to attack them. I want to see a really proactive approach to try and grab that match by the scruff of the neck. Especially right now because Spurs haven't been brilliant at Wembley. They seem to still be adjusting to those surroundings, and hopefully we can use that unfamiliarity to our advantage. As well as the size of the pitch, it's a very, very big pitch. A lot bigger than White Hart Lane, which doesn't seem to suit Spurs' game. But it might suit ours. We might find ourselves creating good chances in space, being able to stretch the play a little bit. I say we go out there, not saying go gung-ho, but I say we go to Wembley and we try and get at them from the first whistle, from the off, and try and hit them early. I'm happy to control the game, but I want to control it in terms of having the best of the attack and play and not necessarily trying to slow the tempo, trying to play for a draw, Mourinho style. Rather, go out there and properly try to outplay them. Because I think that we have that in our locker. It's something we're capable of on our day. We really can go toe-to-toe with Spurs and come out with a good result. So that's the way I want to see us play. Get the ball up the field, let Salah, Coutinho, Firmino, Sturridge, if he plays, whatever combination of attackers we have, do their thing and cause Spurs all kinds of problems. I don't want to see the ball pooled in midfield because I think we'd be letting ourselves down. I think we have a chance of winning this and we'd be sacrificing that if all we did was play for a draw.
We shouldn't ever be setting up for a draw. Yeah, sorry. We shouldn't ever be setting up for a draw, ever. So go out there, play to win. I could understand us employing different tactics, but I don't believe we should ever settle for a draw.
So I'll just continue in Fergs' thoughts. I agree with you, Paul, because quite frankly, I just don't think that it suits us to be pragmatic. We're not a team that can be. We're not a team that can go away to a place like Spurs against a good team like Spurs and then try and control the game, try and be defensive. It's just not our strength. So obviously, I would like to see us go out there, really go ahead and get at them right from the first whistle, because that plays to our strengths. Getting the ball into feet at with a player like Salah, Coutinho, and Firmino, it makes complete sense. So I do want to see us go out there and possibly pull off a win. I think if we set up for a draw, we'll end up with a loss. And if we set up to go for a win, we might end out with a draw. So I'm hoping that would be the case for this one. Any concluding thoughts you guys want to add before we conclude this podcast? Paul?
One thing I don't want to see is the midfielder play tonight play against Spurs. Coutinho has to be in it, whether that means starting Oxlade-Chamberlain or whether it means playing a slightly different attack. Then I'll be happy to go with that. But I don't want to see a midfield of Milner, Chan and Wijnaldum start at Wembley, because it's one thing to look great against Maribor, and Milner, out of the three of them, to be honest, was the only one that actually did look very good. The other two I thought were quite laborious. But I want to see us make some changes. I want to see Coutinho back in that midfield, especially because Eriksen in it. And I just want to see a bit more creativity, because I think we played
The last couple of games, Maribor and Man United, we played a midfield that had the intention of just being solid. Wasn't there to create very much. It was there really just to be there. And I don't want to see that. I want to see us be ambitious and really go for the jugular against them. And that game plan starts in midfield. Put Coutinho there. I'm not really particularly interested in who else plays next to him, because as far as I'm concerned, none of them are all that different from the rest. But put Coutinho there. And that gives us the best chance of winning that match. I don't want us to take any lessons from tonight. That's the way we need to go into the weekend. We need a different system and a fresh approach.
Yeah, I certainly agree on that one. Again, like I said, tonight is take away little from the performance, take away most from the result. I'm looking forward to seeing what we do against Spurs. I think Coutinho will play in the front three. I don't share... I share the optimism with you, Paul, that I hope he goes back in the midfield. But I feel Klopp may look at this result and stick with Coutinho in the front three. As far as midfield goes, I expect to see Henderson back, maybe Wijnaldum and Milner, maybe Chan and Milner. But I do think Milner may also stay in. So with that, let's go ahead and conclude this podcast. Obviously, it's a good result, good night. And we're firmly back in the driver's seat of the Champions League campaign. So hopefully, we have a good result against Tottenham on the weekend. Thanks for joining, guys.
Pleasure.
See you, dude.
All right, take care.
See ya.